1 minute till mark.
Well, welcome to the February Sail Points for the San Diego Argonauts. This is the Santa Barbara class. We're going to have 3 races this afternoon. This is the first of the 3 races. You can see the start line off to the left of your screen. That's a pretty fair start line. Winds out of the west at, about 6 knots. Gets a little lighter on occasion.
Yep.
Doesn't get much above the 6 knots. Going downwind's a little bit slow.
Oh, watch where I'm going.
Got about 30 seconds, maybe a little bit more until the start. I'm the boat, the red boat, right in the center of your screen there, just jibing over on the starboard. Kind of positioning for the start. Yep, 10 seconds till the start. I want to be close hauled at the pin when it goes off. Here I come in.
Leeward boat 752.
Whoops, there's a barger right there, that white boat. And I am going to get hooked up with him, and we're going to get entangled a little bit. And right now I'm trying to figure out whether or not we're permanently entangled or what's going on. We're more than up against each other. We actually had some component hooked into each other. And we're going to break free in a minute, but of course, while we're playing around trying to get loose, the rest of the fleet, of course, is sailing off to the right-hand side of your screen. There we are. We broke free. Not in very good shape on the fleet, but that's the way it is sailing sometimes. The boat that was barging is doing his 360 as appropriate. And we're off to the races, so I've got some time to make up. You can see there's not a lot of air out there. Santa Barbara, of course, being a little bit of a heavy boat, it's not going to be taken off real well. I have just tacked over onto port. I'm sure I have my sails cracked off a little bit, not much heel on the boat, so I've got them cracked off. I'm trying to get the boat moving. First thing I want to do with the Santa Barbara, again a heavy boat, get it moving. Once I get it moving, try to pull those sails in to the extent I can. I am constantly in the Santa Barbara more than any other boat. You know, I've sailed a Soling 50 and the Odom. More than either of those 2 boats, I am always adjusting the sails, always looking at the boat speed. And although I'm not going very fast right now, I am going faster than some of the competition out there. Part of that's because I've got wind and they don't, but that's about looking at the water and seeing where that wind's at. You can see how glassy that water is, but we have some wakes coming off the boats. We know we are moving along. Very difficult to see the telltale at the top of my sail, but indeed there is one, and I am watching that closely as I watch the telltales on my jib. I tacked now back onto port, and somehow I have caught up with the fleet, and actually I'm in first place at the weather mark. Feel very fortunate about that. I think basically I got some wind that they did not get. I think that's part of it. And also, again, if the wind's light like this, don't be trying to pull those sails in. Leave those sails out, the boom maybe a couple of inches. Get the boat moving. As it starts moving, then start pulling the sails in a little bit. At some point, the boat will start stalling, and you'll feel the speed drop off. Just let those sails out a little bit. Do not try to point. This is about boat speed. This is not about pointing. This is about boat speed. So you can see I got some good air. I got around the weather mark. I got around the offset mark, and the competition is back, struggling to find some air. And again, a lot of this is I'm just in a puff and I got some air that they didn't get. That's part of what's going on. So we try to take advantage of position when we get good wind to be able to take advantage of that and make a gain from it. And that's what I've been able to do here. So again, my usual objectives: good clear air start, sail on the lifts, hopefully get to the weather mark in pretty good shape on the fleet. This time I got locked up badly with the boat, but I recovered, unbelievably recovered, and I'm off to the races here. So let's break off here and we'll go to race number 2. Okay, here we are, race number 2. pretty much the same wind, just coming right down the pond, westerly breeze, few shifts from the right, few shifts from the left, more from the right than the left. So starboard tack generally is where the lifts are at, but not always. I want to be, we've got about 15-20 seconds till the start. I want to be on the line, close hauled, moving as best I can when that bell goes off. So I'm trying to time that. 7 seconds. Bell goes off. Pretty good position for the start. Not a lot of air, but I'm in good position. I am free to tack off if I want to. Folks are staying on starboard. I'm happy to stay over with them. I don't want to give it. Oh, there's a good heel. So there's a little puff that just came in right there. Boats are moving a little bit. I'm always playing the sails. My sails are out a little bit when the air is light. Once I start heeling like this and I end the boats up to speed, after the boat's up to speed, then I'll pull those sails in and try to point a little bit more. But because that Santa Barbara's a heavy boat, get it moving first thing. And I've just tacked on to port. And I think I saw a wind shift there, and I went back on to starboard again. That's a pretty good lift on starboard right there. Not going right up the pond, but it's a good starboard tack lift. Looks like that lift's going away again. So again, this is we're not going very fast, but I just need to be going faster than the other boats in the fleet. So we're almost at a standstill here. Some boats moving up behind me. Hopefully the wind that they're in is going to come to me. I'm hoping. And now I'm going to be approaching the mark on port with some traffic, some starboard tack traffic. So that's got its challenges. So I have to be careful about those starboard tackers, of course. And at this point, of course, I am not able to tack over if I want to go onto port to get over to the weather mark. So I'm just trying to be patient, not play around a lot with the rudder. Just keep the boat moving. Now the boat that was to weather me is now tacked on to port. I have just tacked on to port. Now I've got some nice air. If you saw my Odom video before, that was the class that we just sailed before this. Working across on port up at the weather mark, there tended to be a nice breeze taking us across on port, and I think that's exactly what I got right there. Is that port, kind of a port lift, some good air. It took me right across in front of the fleet, so I felt fortunate about that. It's one of the nice things about sailing several classes of boats. As you get out on the pond, you can kind of see what that wind's doing, try to figure out what the trends are. At this point, I've just gone around the offset mark, and I'm faced with the question, the issue of, shall I jibe over onto port, or shall I just stay on starboard? And I think I jibed, but I truthfully can't tell looking at the video here. There's not a lot of air. I think I was trying to work a little closer to this side of the pond. Some of that wind circling around is just causing the main to go from port to starboard. I don't want to fight that. If that's what the boat wants to do, it knows better than I do out there. I'm sure I'm thinking about staying between the fleet and that mark, the next mark we're going to, which is downwind. So now I am on starboard. I'm trying to work to the right a little bit to get between those boats that actually look like have some pretty good speed. Oops, I stepped into a hole on the bank. And I've got a little bit of speed right now. Hopefully I'm going to hold on to an inside overlap. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that or not. But that's grinding it out in light air and a heavy boat. So those are my tips. Don't pull the sails in too tight. Keep the boat moving. Try to keep your air clear. Try to sail on the lifts. Okay, with that, we're going to break off here from race number 2. We're going to head over and start up race number 3. Okay, this is race number 3. This is going to be our last Santa Barbara race for the day. Wind is still staying in at about 6 knots. Not much more than that. Got a little bit light, got down to 4 knots at times. Got even lighter at that, working downwind, which of course is pretty slow. About 30 seconds until the start. And again, I am 1326, the red boat that's right in the center of the picture. Just jibing around onto starboard. Making my final run for the start. 5 seconds till the start. I think I'm looking pretty good here. Hardened up to close hauled. Whoops, what happened? I'm not sure what happened. There was a wind puff, or I didn't have my sails trimmed, or something, but I certainly did not get off to a very good start. Even though my air was clear, not quite sure what happened there. We got some nice air coming in. You can see some nice heel on the boat. So this is some of the stronger air that we've had for the Santa Barbara racing. Boats are staying on starboard. That's a pretty good starboard tack lift, so certainly don't want to be bailing out of that for a big header on port. I'm trying to get my boat going fast. It's not heeling a lot, so there's not a lot of air there. So those sails are not pulled in real tight. They're cracked off a little. There, I've just tacked over to port. I am not in real good shape here. I've got most of the fleet that's back on my port hip. Just trying to make the boat go. Hope that wind stays in for me. Again, it's the wind's up and down. This is a very challenging. This is one of the most challenging wind days that I've sailed at the pond in probably a couple of years. Trying to figure out what is that wind doing, and I will tell you, even at the end of the day, after sailing 3 different boats for a total of 9 races, I didn't have it figured out very well. I thought I had some thoughts, but I proved myself wrong on several occasions. So I'm working up. I'm not going to lay the marks. I'm going to have to tack over to port. Let's see how I'm going to be able to do this. Oh yeah. Oops, 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 oops. Oh, port and starboard. Bad on my part. I was hoping I was going to get some wind coming in, because I thought I was in pretty good position, but I fouled that starboard tacker clearly. I've acknowledged that I will do a 360 here as soon as I get a chance. So that was my hoping that something good was going to happen, when there was probably very little chance it was going to happen. I should have bailed out of that position. There's my 360. I should have bailed out of that position earlier when I saw that I wasn't going to be able to do anything. But with the light air, that made it a little bit difficult. But that's no excuse. I should not have risked that. I actually got out of that in fairly good shape. Okay, well, couple issues with that. Don't like doing 360s because it means I made a mistake. I like to sail. I like to not make those mistakes. So I like to sail cleaner. Nobody likes to get fouled. Doesn't do any good for anybody. Okay, so that's our Santa Barbara sailing. Let me leave with the making sure everybody knows that the Nationals for the Santa Barbara will be here at the pond in August of this year. We'll have a sail week going on. Race week, I think it's called, actually. It goes on for several weeks. Santa Barbara's will be one of several classes that will be racing. So if you're watching the video, you're going to be coming to the Nationals. You get some idea of what's going on at the pond here. Okay, well, that's it for today. Hope you picked up some tips. I certainly saw things I did wrong, and hopefully won't repeat. But that's why I watch these videos, to try to learn from them. So we'll see you next month. Take care.